Welcome to the Secrets of College Planning. I'm your host, Anthony Uva, and today we're going to get some insight into online education at the college level. My guest today is Jody Dekorte, and she is the Dean of General Education, Open College for Purdue University Global. And welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you.
So usually I start my guests where they went to college. So where'd you go to school?
Well, I came from a very small high school of about 300 students total for the entire 4 years. So I was a little nervous to go to a big university to start with. So I actually went to Northeastern Junior College in Sterling, Colorado, just a small place, not too far from home, but enough to be away from my parents, right? You have to get away from right out of high school. So that I wanted to be away, but I was afraid of the big university. So I went there for 2 years. Then I transferred to the University of Northern Colorado in Greeley, and I finished up my bachelor's degree in math education. Later, I went back and did my master's degree at the same institution. And then beyond that, I did my PhD at CSU, Colorado State University.
Oh, wow. Fantastic. So let's just go back in time before we get into what you do today.
Okay.
When did you start thinking about going to college? Was it freshman year of high school, senior year? When did it all you started thinking about it?
Gosh, I don't know. It's interesting because it wasn't a big push in my family. It was fine if I went to college or didn't go to college. It wasn't a push from my parents. It was what I wanted to do. I just knew I wanted to teach. That was what I wanted to do, and which I kind of stumbled upon, I would say probably mostly in high school because I was helping my fellow classmates with their math courses. So I was like, I could do this. This is fun for me. So I enjoyed doing that. So that was really kind of my impetus to move forward and move into the education realm for myself.
So now, how did it begin for you to choose the community college route before you went into graduating at a four-year university?
Well, financials was a piece of it for me. My parents, like I said, wasn't a big push. They said, it's great if you want to go to school, but you're going to have to help figure out how to pay for it. So it was somewhat financial. Again, like I said, I came from a small school. I wasn't sure I was ready for a big university right off the start. So those two pieces together made the community college a good fit for me.
So now, when you got to school, what did you feel was the experience at the community college compared to the four-year college?
It was similar. Since I went to the community college I went to was a residential institution, so I lived on campus my first year. So that experience was similar. Going to classes, being back in the dorms, those kind of things. It's very similar to the regular four-year institution for me. But I felt the community college gave me a little bit more support to start out with. I became really close to some of my professors. I actually was working at a retail store in town, and my professors would come in and they would see me, and then later I might be in their office hours and we'd talk about work and such. So I really felt like I built a good community in the small area I was in. Then I was ready when I went to the four-year school because I felt I had gained some confidence and some knowledge. I was ready for that other next step experience.
Great. So, so after you graduated from all the universities and got your PhD, what was the path that you took from that point to where you are today?
Well, when I finished my bachelor's degree, I actually started teaching at a high school. And funny enough, I went back to the same high school that I graduated from, was my first teaching job. So that was an interesting experience in itself of teaching with former teachers of my own, and now they were my colleagues. But it turned out to be a really great experience for me. They were very supportive. So I taught high school for 7 years. While I was teaching high school is when I went back to do my master's degree also in math education. It was shortly after that I thought, I would like to just have a part-time job, because teaching wasn't enough, and so I looked at the local community college. By then I was in a different city, and I went to the community college and started just teaching night classes for them. And that's how I ended up, at the college level and the community college level. For online learning, it was kind of an accident. the community college, I was full-time there, and they said, we'd really like to try a math class online. Would you like to do that? And I said, sure. Not knowing anything at all about online learning. I was like, sure, I could do that by fall, no big deal, right? So I started looking around, where could I get some experience? Who else is doing online, and how are they doing, and what are they doing well? And that's where I started working at the time, Kaplan University, which is now Purdue University Global, teaching for them part-time. And from teaching with them part-time, I learned more about teaching online and how that worked, which helped me, of course, at my community college job. But that's how I got sucked in, so to speak, to the online world and ended up with Purdue University Global full-time.
So now at Purdue University Global, is it a connection to Purdue University?
Correct. We are part of the Purdue University system. They have several campuses, Purdue West Lafayette being their main campus, but they have Purdue Northwest, et cetera. And so we're just one of those campuses. We just happen to be an online campus.
And tell me about the position. What do you actually do as the Dean of General Education?
So as general education, so every student has to take general education courses. So those are your things like mathematics, social sciences, science, writing, composition, and humanities. So those are the 5 areas that I have within my school. So every student, whether they're in an undergraduate, an associate's, or a bachelor's program, has to take these general education courses. And so they come to my school to get those courses for their degree areas. So
Gotcha.
I manage all of those departments and all of those classes that students take.
Gotcha. And so now, how do students find Purdue University online global?
So there's lots of ways. Obviously, a lot of students have connections to Purdue University, and so they know that name and such to find us. But we're out there when students are looking for, gosh, I'm interested in online education. Where do I go? And you do some searches. Purdue University will come up, and that's a big piece for us. Online is very much, what folks are looking for and searching for things. It's just a really great fit. We really focus on the adult learner at Purdue University Global. So, maybe what many folks would consider non-traditional, though in today's world, I don't know that that's quite the same as it used to be, but we're not the typical 18 to 20-year-olds. We have a lot of folks that are coming back. Maybe they're working out in the workforce and they want to come back and learn a new trade. Maybe they've started school at one point and weren't able to finish, and now they're ready to come back. So we really focus on that adult learner, right around the 30 to 35-year-old as the entry point for our students.
Now, what do you find as the difference between a regular 4-year college and an online course?
So certainly a student who's going to be successful in an online classroom, they have to have a little bit of their own motivation and drive. It's easy to say, oh, that's not due till Wednesday, and not, kind of put it off. And that's really a real piece, is having that discipline to say, yes, that's due on Wednesday, but I'm going to need to plan ahead to make sure I get those things done. I need to log into the class every day. And you're in a traditional classroom, you might show up on Monday and Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday, that kind of thing for an hour, and you have a lecture. That doesn't happen necessarily in the online classroom. So students come in, they have reading to do, they have some discussion board posts where they interact with their classmates and their instructor. We also have what we call seminar, which is a live interactive piece one night a week for students. So you might go to seminar on a night of the week where you have kind of a lecture discussion piece with your faculty and your other students in your class. But you have to be disciplined, make sure that you're set to do those things and that you really do participate and take advantage of all of those things in the classroom.
And can you take basically every single course online at the college, or is it really just
Yes.
Adult learning and just getting extra classes?
No, we do, all of our courses are fully online. So you can do everything online. Even in our courses, our math, science courses, science having labs and stuff, we actually have interactive online labs for students to work through.
And what can the student expect by an online course? Do they see the different faculty members teaching the course? Is there something that they can do after the course where they can get extra work or extra help?
Yeah, so we do a lot of different things. First of all, like I said, we have an interactive seminar, which is a live interactive piece, very much like this setting here, where you and I are seeing each other. Students can see their faculty member. They can be on camera. They can talk to their faculty member, hear their faculty member talk. There's a chat component. They can see each other. That's a really nice feature because it gives you that live interaction, that piece of connection to your faculty member. We also, of course, faculty hold office hours, just like on campus, and you set up a time like this where you'd meet with a faculty one-on-one to get some additional help. But we also have our academic support centers. And so we provide free tutoring for our students in those areas that they really struggle with, math and writing and science and technology, all of those pieces. We have centers for students to get live help, but we also have maybe little videos and all kinds of other resources for students to do on their own time if they need help in those areas.
So are the teachers available 24/7? Is this something where they call into, or they Skype, or how does that work?
It's really about setting up a time. So the seminars are a set time each week, Wednesday at 8 p.m. kind of thing, and then that's like having your regular class time. But if you need interaction time with your faculty member, you just set up an appointment just like you would with an office hour, and a time that works for both you and the faculty member, and then you have that time to connect.
And do you have students from all over the globe coming in and joining the class?
We do. We have students from all over, and it's really helpful for our military students, if they're, or military, I should even say military families, right? Spouses and children of military, because they're able to connect, and when they move, they don't have to change schools. They continue with the same school. If they're deployed, oftentimes they can still work on things while they're out on the field, those kind of things. It's really a nice connection for those students.
Yeah, so is that where you find most of the students are, military students?
Not necessarily, but we do have a good population of military students.
And where do you find most of the students coming from? Is it the U.S., or do you see a lot from outside the U.S. coming?
The majority of our students are United States students. We have a few international students, just like any other institution would. So we do have our international students, but the majority are US-based students.
And how's the acceptance into the university? Does it go through Purdue University, or does it go through the online university?
It goes through Purdue University Global, so through our global piece, and we are an open institution. So anybody can apply and start any of our programs.
So, and I'm assuming it's all per class, fee-based. Is that the way it works?
Yeah, it's by credit hour, which is all then listed within our catalog and such for students or potential students to see ahead of time.
So how does the student, so once the student finds that they want to come to Purdue University Global, how do they join? They go to the website, they click I want to join. How does that work?
Yeah, so there's phone numbers. So from our website, they can connect with our phone number. They can connect, they can chat with somebody live right there through the website. Once a student has said, yes, I really want to go to Purdue University Global, you have the program for me, I'm ready to start, we actually help them by having them do an orientation. So our new student orientation also falls under me within the School of General Education. And so, but we plan this orientation for students so they get a chance to see what a classroom is like. They get a chance to practice a seminar so they can see what that's like. They have a facilitator, a teacher who helps them through that orientation. They see, how do the discussion boards work? How do I submit an assignment when I'm in a classroom? What does that Dropbox look like? What if I need to take a test? What does that look like? How do I use that tool? So through that orientation, we help a student get prepared with all of those things, as well as what are the resources that are available for me? Where do I find help when I need it? All of those kind of pieces are all set within that orientation. So when a student actually starts their first class, they are set and ready to go.
Now, Can you elaborate on some of those that you said, like how do you take a test and things like that? Because it's new out there where students are actually going online and taking these classes. How are some of those answered to some of those questions that you just brought up?
Just like a regular test in a classroom where you may be writing on paper, you're just going to be doing it on the screen. So there's short answer questions. There could be multiple choice. It could be, we do a lot what we call project-based assessment. So students get a chance to have a scenario that they might work through, and then they would write out, their solution and such. We do project work with students where they are connected with each other, and they do, some teamwork pieces. So just if you can imagine anything that you do in a regular classroom, we can do online using the online tools to help our students do that, which is really a great piece because they learn a lot of other skills around technology and stuff that'll help them in the workplace.
Yeah. So how about the time of class? Is each class an hour, 2 hours? Do they take it at their leisure time? Is it a specific time? How does that work?
So the only thing that is a set time is that live interactive seminar piece that would meet once a week. Like I used an example, I think Wednesday is 8 p.m. So at Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time, I'm going to log on and I'm going to have this live interaction piece. Everything else is at the time that works best for the student. So if they're think, gosh, midnight's the best time for me to write my paper, that's fine. They can do that, submit it. It'll just be there for the faculty member when the faculty member comes in the next day. It's all there. They can email, they can post discussion boards, and people can see that at any time, which is kind of fun if I'm looking in a classroom and I can see students posting and responding to each other in the discussion board 7 days a week at all hours of the day and night and, throughout the day. It's really kind of a fun thing because you don't have to be right there, but you still have this really good conversation with your classmates.
Yeah, it seems very interesting. How about the faculty members? How do they work?
So we usually, we'll say, like a full-time faculty member, we say, whatever time zone you're in, because they're across the country too. In fact, in the School of General Education, we looked at our faculty members across the United States, and I think we had faculty members in every state except for Montana. I said we have to do some recruiting in Montana.
Wow.
So we have, faculty from all over. So we usually say, we ask that you log in at least once every 24 hours and respond to students and make sure students are responding. Of course, you'll do your seminar, each week. And then, we expect that they'll do their grading within 3 or 4 days of things being turned in, of the due date, so that they have that time. So students are getting feedback before their next assignment's due. But they can pretty much do what they want to do as far as time too. Our full-time folks, they're available we have meetings and stuff just like faculty at a regular campus. So, we typically say be available during normal business hours of whatever time zone you're in, but it's flexible for them too.
And what's the requirement for a faculty member to do this? Do they have to work at a university?
No, so we have some adjunct faculty members that might work full-time in their field. So maybe it wouldn't necessarily be gen ed, but maybe I'm a psychiatrist and I'm working somewhere. I might teach in the psychology department part-time. So that's not necessarily a requirement that you're connected to a university. You could work for us part-time in that sense. Really, the requirement is the same educational requirement as any institution. To do the, undergrad levels, you're going to need at least a master's. Doing graduate level, you need at least a PhD, et cetera. But otherwise, we have folks who might work full time somewhere and teach for us part time. That's how I got started with Purdue University Global. Or maybe, this is where you work full time and that is your university association.
Wow. And how about the students? What happens when they do these online classes? Is it a 3-month class? Is it a 6-month class? Is it a whole year's worth of class? How does that all work?
So at Purdue University Global, we're on a quarter system. So our undergraduate courses typically run 10 weeks. So the students would come in, they usually do 2 courses during a term. So they do 10 weeks with 2 courses, and then they have a week off, and then they start their next set of courses. Some of our graduate level courses are 10 weeks, and some of them are 6 weeks. But it's all basically the same. You do your course, and then you have a week off, and then you start your next set of courses.
And how long does it usually take a student to graduate?
It depends on the program that they're in, but typically, a bachelor's degree at a typical institution is 4 years. I think we can usually help students finish before that because of the cycle, right? In a typical institution, a lot of times students take a complete summer time off. They don't take courses during that summer term. Our students do continue to take courses. So, 18 months, oftentimes they can finish a bachelor's degree.
Wow. And then they can go into, you have a master's degree and a PhD degree as part of it as well?
We have a master's degree in many of our program areas, just a couple of PhD or doctoral levels within our Concord Law School and our nursing programs.
And is there any type of expansion with online? Do you see what's going on for like the future of online learning?
We're always making changes and growing and adding new programs and looking to see what our students need and what are the trends out there. So it is something that we're always following and making those changes. One of the things that I do is the Open College. And the Open College, you may have heard a few years ago what they called MOOCs, Massively Open Online Courses. And the Open College is where we manage those open courses within the university. So those are courses that students can take for free. They can come in, just check them out, look at our courses, see our content, those kind of things. That's free for them to take those courses. If they would like to have credit for those courses, then they do need to pay for an assessment to take, to like a course assessment to show that they've learned that knowledge. But if you're just interested in say, I'd like to know a little bit more about writing, you could come in and take our composition course and learn a little bit more about writing, those kind of things.
Wow.
Also in our open, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Also in our Open College, we have 2 degree programs. We have an Associate of Professional Studies and a Bachelor's of Professional Studies. And those are really interesting programs because those are really for a student who, maybe they are in an area where they just need to get a bachelor's degree. And I'm working in this job, but I can't move forward until I have some type of degree. It's not so important that it's in a specific area, but for my job, I need to get a degree. Or I've started a program over here and I wasn't able to finish, and then I went and worked, and then I started a program here and I wasn't able to finish. What we can do in the professional studies is it's what we call an open degree. We develop an individualized learning plan for the student, and we pull in not only these credits that they may have from other institutions, but also work experience. And we're able to have them through a portfolio process have them demonstrate the learning that they've gained from working out in the field in different areas and show that they have that knowledge. And then that's evaluated by faculty members. And we're able to pull in all of that, give them credit through that work experience and build an individualized learning plan that then they can finish their degree with us through that Open College process.
Wow. They really compact a lot of different things into the university. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So when kids come in or adults and they do these free programs, is it really just giving them a sense of what they're going to be learning more about if they want to get into that field, and you're just enticing them a little?
Somewhat. The courses that we have in the Open College, all of them mirror the outcomes of our regular courses in the regular institution, in the rest of the institution. So for example, if you're doing Comp 1 in the Open College, the outcomes that are developed within that open course are the same outcomes as if you were taking the course through a program within the rest of the institution. So it does mirror the outcomes. So the learning is actually the same in those courses.
I gotcha. Oh, fantastic. So we're coming to the end of our show. And usually I ask my guests, what advice do you want to give to the parents and the students of the parents, want to do online classes, want to go to an online school? Give the advice on both the students and the adult parents.
Yeah, so for parents, certainly online is an interesting way, particularly if your student, it's really been helpful for students who maybe are unsure. Can I go to college? Am I set? Am I going to be ready to sit in a classroom with all of these other students? So that's a really great piece, for a student to think about, for parents to think about. In any institution, no matter whether it's online, you really have to choose the institution that's going to have the program and the area of study that you're interested in. So certainly looking at, what is it that I want to do? What is it that I want my degree to be? And where are the institutions that have those pieces? For a student perspective, particularly an adult learner, looking at online schools, particularly a school like Purdue University Global, we focus on the needs of the adult learner, helping them navigate. We understand that, as a student, I have a family to take care of, I'm working, all of those things that the adult student has. And how do we help them navigate that through the classroom? And so we have our classes built specifically for those things. Our faculty are trained in understanding the adult learner to work with students and help them through those kind of things and navigate that piece. And so that's a really big piece, particularly for our institution is, if I'm working a full-time job and I have family, maybe I'm a caregiver for a parent, those are all really difficult things to then say, oh, and now I'm also going to take these classes. And so finding the institution that's right for you, that is going to give you that support, I think is really key.
Great. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so you've been watching The Secrets of College Planning. I'm your host, Anthony Uva. Until next time.